There is something strange about our modern world. Sometimes, the things that seem the most alive to us are actually completely empty inside. We are surrounded by these silent, seemingly intelligent machines. You know the ones. They answer our questions, they write our letters, they even predict what we need before we do. And at first glance, it feels like absolute magic. It feels like we've somehow managed to build an artificial mind. But perhaps, that is exactly why understanding the modern world is so much harder than we think. We're staring right into a mirror, and we are mistaking our own reflection for a living, breathing maker.
To really grasp this, we have to ask a rather uncomfortable question. What actually happens when a machine learns? Well, the human mind is this beautiful, deeply social system, and it absolutely cannot tolerate a vacuum, especially a vacuum of intent. So, when we see an algorithm smoothly adapting to our behavior, predicting our next word or choice, a profound psychological gap opens up. And because we simply cannot stand an empty space, we do something extraordinary. We hallucinate a soul right into the machine. We see it adapting, and we instantly assume it understands us, until you notice something strange.
And that's where things become fascinating. I was reading a conversation between a researcher, Professor Rao, and his student Maya, and he pointed out something absolutely crucial. He said, "We mistake smooth behavior for inner life. When a system answers fluently, it rarely hesitates, right? It improves reliably. To a human observer, this rapid, flawless performance looks literally indistinguishable from a living intellect, but it's an illusion. The machine is completely devoid of meaning. It has no inner life, no secret goals of its own. It's just performing." But reality has other plans. Notice the fundamental divide here between the machine and the maker. Imagine two colleagues, let's call them Mira and Dev, sitting late at night, staring at an AI's output. Mira realizes something profound. The machine, it only knows how to optimize, adjust, and predict. It's basically blind calculating to hit a target. But the human, we have to experience the actual consequence of that prediction. We have to hold on to our values, suffer through the failures, repair the damage, and teach the next generation. You are not an AI. You carry the heavy, beautiful burden of human consequence.
So, if it isn't a mind, what exactly is it? At first this seems obvious, but if we chip away the magical paint, what do we actually find beneath the surface? AI is simply structured mathematics. That's the core first principle. It's just a story wrapped around patterns, and those patterns are wrapped around pure math. When a machine quote-unquote learns, it isn't having some brilliant epiphany. It's just measuring inputs, transforming data, deciding on an output, and then correcting its error. It's an architecture of logic, quietly humming along in a continuous, endless loop. And this brings us to the very heart of that loop, backpropagation. Now I know, it sounds terrifyingly complex, like serious jargon, but imagine a ship trying to navigate toward a distant lighthouse in the pitch dark. The captain guesses the direction, realizes they've drifted a bit too far to the left, and adjusts the wheels slightly to the right. That is backpropagation. It's simply iterative correction. The machine is just tweaking its internal sensitivities over and over again to minimize its prediction error. It's a mathematical engine of correction, and it completely dispels the myth of a conscious ghost in the machine. Imagine a student named Arjun looking at these massive, complex systems for the first time. He felt totally overwhelmed. But his mentor showed him that once you break down the true components of AI, you aren't staring at a mysterious mind anymore. You're just decoding a mathematical architecture. It's like taking apart a clock. Vectors describe the information. Matrices act as the little gears that transform that data. Probability measures the uncertainty of the guess. And optimization, that just adjusts the dials. When you put all those gears and dials together, a machine can pull patterns from data. And actually, that's the whole shebang.
Which raises an uncomfortable question. What happens when meaning is entirely absent? This is the trap of smooth performance. Because the machine is literally just optimizing numbers, it doesn't actually know when it should stop. It doesn't recognize success as joy, and it certainly doesn't recognize failure as a tragedy. It doesn't experience improvement as a feeling of progress. It only knows how to answer you fluently. And fluency, when stripped of meaning, can be quite dangerous when we unleash it into the real world.
This reveals a really profound gap. You see, a system calculating an output is not the same thing as a system bearing responsibility for that output. An AI agent might draft a perfectly worded summary of your business risks, but it doesn't lose sleep if your company goes under. It doesn't feel the crushing weight of a medical misdiagnosis. It is just an operator of probabilities. You, the human, are the owner of the workflow. The ultimate responsibility always pivots away from the machine and lands squarely back on the maker.
Which brings us to our true advantage, the engine of human repair. A machine needs massive, almost unfathomable amounts of data to slowly adjust its parameters. But human power? It lies in something much, much messier. Our superpower isn't in calculating perfectly on the very first try. It's in our deeply necessary ability to unlearn, to look at a flawed assumption, recognize it, and fix it. We don't just optimize, we repair. When a human makes a mistake, it isn't just a blip in an error rate. It is a revelation.
Now take a look at this map. Think of this as the new career loop, or honestly, the adult engine of our nervous system applied to life itself. The old way of operating was to react, overthink, and just drift along. But the new loop, the human algorithm, is entirely intentional. We observe the signal, we deconstruct the problem, we build proof, we review, and then we compound our growth. Human growth is built on repeatable choices and real, true constraints. It's an architecture that builds deep capacity, which is completely unlike the blind mathematical processing of an algorithm. We could even call this the layman's algorithm. See, simplify, test, and repair. There's a story of a young professional named Arav who learns to keep what he calls a mistake book. When an AI makes a mistake, it just coldly updates a numerical weight. But when a human, like Arav, writes down a mistake, they turn an error from a brick wall into an open door. Repairing means we actually adjust our values, our beliefs, and our actions. This human algorithm doesn't remove the difficulty from life. Rather, it gives our minds a way to walk right through it. I want to let this powerful first principle sink in for just a moment. Intelligence does not live in components. It lives in structure. Think about it. A pile of bricks is not a house, right? And a pile of algorithms is not a mind. The AI models we are building provide incredible, vast capabilities. They are incredibly powerful workers inside our workflows. But it is the human system, the complex structure of our values, our ethics, our personal boundaries, that provides the actual judgment. Imagine two curious minds exploring this reality, sitting by a fireplace, looking at this exact contrast. Dev turns and gently reminds us of the truth of it all. Just look at the machine. It optimizes, it manipulates, and it acts within its boundaries. Now look at the maker. You experience the consequences. You hold the values. You bear the responsibility. The machine's intelligence is entirely derivative. It only inherits our values, or it inherits our neglect. The ultimate power and the ultimate accountability will always remain right here, in our human hands.
We live in an age that absolutely worships answers, speed, and flawless performance. But as we look closely at these silent machines we built, we realize something incredibly humbling. The machine can give you 1,000 answers in a single second, but a mirror cannot choose your values. Perhaps understanding was never about collecting answers. Perhaps it was about learning how to notice. And maybe that journey never truly ends.